Hello everyone, and welcome back to Occult Perspectives. I was just about to do a video. I was about 3 minutes in and a friend called, so had to restart. So I'm doing this video in the car just because sometimes I like to be on the move. I think especially when I don't have notes written for something, or if I'm not referencing books a whole bunch, it's a lot easier for me to talk as I'm driving. Rather than just me sitting and staring at the phone. So I decided to go on a drive. I know some of you have said that it's a little hard for you to hear me in some of my videos. My recommendation is that you try to find a quiet room where you can listen to my videos, or try to watch YouTube on a TV so that you can turn the volume up pretty loud. I don't really have the extra money at the moment to invest into any microphones or anything like that, and honestly I don't know how a microphone works with a phone anyway, because I film my videos from my phone. I do just about everything from my phone. I don't have a laptop that I upload my YouTube videos to, but I do use a laptop that isn't mine. It's my fiance's for documents and stuff like that, stuff that I'm working on. So this video, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I have some other stuff I want to get into. At some point I'd like to do a video on Wicca, actually, and some of the connections between Wiccan ritual and Masonic ritual. There's actually a lot of correlation and connection there. It's quite interesting, and I knew about it years ago, but I'm just now looking back into it, reading some of Raymond Buckland's books and then reading some stuff online. I'm starting to get myself a little bit more familiar with Wicca again. Although I don't resonate with Wicca as much as I do like the Golden Dawn stuff and the Freemasonic stuff and the Western ceremonial magic, that branch of esotericism. But just because that's the case, I'm not downplaying Wicca at all. I think it's actually great. It's a very open-minded, beautiful religion, and that's what's interesting about Wicca, is it's actually a religion, so they say. And then there's probably many other branches of, Wicca, and then paganism in general, and I can't even keep up with all of it. So I like to learn as much new stuff as I can. I think it's really cool to always be researching things of that nature. So if I do end up doing another YouTube video today, that's probably what I will cover, is Wicca and Freemasonry. But for now, for this video, on this car ride, I wanted to cover the zodiac sign of Scorpio. So Scorpio, and okay, so most of you, if you're a Scorpio, considered a Scorpio, all that truly means on an astrological level, if you take your whole birth chart into consideration, is that your sun, the sun was in Scorpio when you were born. So just because your sun sign is in Scorpio does not mean you're going to relate to all of these things. Frater Xavier, he gives a very similar introduction to his zodiac videos on his Mind and Magic YouTube channel. When I'm talking about Scorpio, I'm not saying, oh, if you're a Scorpio, I'm not talking about you whose sun sign is in Scorpio. I'm talking about the archetype of Scorpio itself. However, there are a lot of traits that you'll vibe with because you are a Scorpio. But for those who may have a heavier planetary influence in Scorpio, for me personally, if I look at my natal chart, if you have not looked up your natal chart, astrology chart, you should really do that. You should go to cafeastrology.com, and there's two different forms you can fill out. One gives you a little bit better of a chart, I think, than the other one, but they're both natal birth charts, and you just put in your birthday information, where you were born, and then it has the chart set out for you, and then you can see what sign your planets were in. So for me, my Scorpio, my sun is Scorpio, my moon is Scorpio, so emotions are Scorpio. Mars is in Scorpio, and Pluto, I believe, but I don't know the astrological influence of Pluto as much as I do the traditional 7 planets. Mars is, of course, the war energy, so Scorpio's death, sex, and the occult in the Mars energy there. The emotions are death, sex, and the occult, and my general outgoing sign, the sun, Scorpio being in the sun, there's more sex, death, and occult energy, because really you can sum up the sign of Scorpio, if you want to sum up the sign of Scorpio as quickly as possible, although it could be quite misleading, but not necessarily, is we are the sign. Scorpio is the sign of sex, death, and the occult. Now, before I dive into this astrology stuff and about the sign of Scorpio, keep in mind that we always have free will. Our birth chart shows us our tendencies. It shows us the archetypal format that we're most likely to fit into based on where our planetary alignments and all that stuff is, as above, so below. People who are biblical or Christian who are against this stuff, the zodiac and all that, know that all the priests that are in the Old Testament, the Magi, Abraham, all those guys, Jesus, they all knew about the stars and the constellations, and they just weren't governed by them. They knew the rules so that they could apply the Hermetic axioms and principles to govern or be the master over those things, you know? That's why Jesus was a master. He knew the ancient mysteries. That's who all these different heroes and stuff are in these different stories, whether the legend be talking about a true historical figure or it's an allegorical character, it's all pointing towards the same thing. So when we're talking in astrology, these are tendencies that we have when we have a particular trait or sign or something that alludes to that. It's not saying we must be this thing. We can't get caught up in the trap of that. So Scorpio. I think Scorpios are generally attracted to things of the occult because Scorpios are about hidden things. We always, I say we, but I'm going to try not to do that. Scorpio energy always, it's secretive. You know, things like secret societies, Freemasonry, whatever it is, the Golden Dawn, all those things will probably appeal. Anything that's of a secretive nature. You know, Scorpios want to get at the deep root, the essence, the core of what life is about. They're not about all this, the distraction, you know, really about getting to the point of the tale of the Scorpion. I mean, even in, you know, we've talked about sexual energy before and sexual transmutation, which is where you transmute the sexual vital energy and channel it into something productive. But the Scorpio energy, it really likes to clear away, and then it's a penetrative force. I would say the Scorpio energy, even though it's a water sign, it's also ruled by the planet Mars, so it's that fire element as well. So I think the Scorpio energy is pretty masculine, in my opinion, but it has elements of both. Your natal chart also, if you do cafe astrology, if you do the correct chart, it will tell you what your masculine and feminine energies are. I just happen to have a higher feminine energy, which is the right brain energy, than the left brain, according to my birth chart. Getting off topic though. So I think Scorpio energy, particularly in a sexual way, it wants to get straight to the point. It wants to clear everything, and its energy is very penetrative and all at once, I would say. It's not an energy that's like these earth signs. You have these signs that take on things. They're really good at taking on the elements. But Scorpio being a water sign and it being very warlike, the energy is kind of always on the move, and it's hard to try and explain archetypally the way that this energy works, but it likes to strike. You know, it likes to channel all the energy into one pinpoint location at one time rather than the energy being spread out. And Scorpio is all about transformation. Scorpio is always changing and evolving. Even if we're technically the same person, we're constantly shedding the skin and replacing ourselves with a newer form of ourselves as Scorpios. So the Scorpio energy is really sexual, and it's good to be able to transmute that energy in a way that's positive. We've talked about that a lot before. You channel that into your art, channel it into your magical practices. You know, we want to create the new heaven on earth. We don't want this earth to just be a dump of all of our vices and stuff. Yes, you can still have fun. Yes, go and do those fun things. Be sexual with your partner, or whatever it is you decide to do. If you want to be polyamorous or whatever it is, I may not be using the right terminology there, so I'm sorry if I'm not. But if you want to be in multiple relationships, if that's what you choose to do, so long as you're not hurting anybody, you know, go do that thing. I find that as having a heavy Scorpio influence in my chart, a very heavy Scorpio influence, Scorpio energy tends to be more about having a monogamous relationship. We like to channel our energy. It's that pinpointing energy. We like to be exact, perfect, clear away all the bullshit, all the superfluous stuff, and get to the point, the deep mystery. We want to penetrate the mystery. And I think being monogamous, we like to, a lot of us as Scorpios tend to want to dedicate ourselves to one person. And we want to love that person. We want to give them this almost overly romantic, you know, sense of who we are, and we just want to be good lovers, you know. I think that's very much a part of the Scorpio energy, as being intense. Scorpio energy is intense, you know. It wants to know, it wants to penetrate the veil of mystery. It's not about, you know, all the fun stuff always. It's about transformation. It's about figuring out occult things. Very sexual energy. So I feel like a lot of the time the Scorpio energy, we have a very dark side. Scorpio archetypal energy does have a very potential dark side to it. And we like a lot of dark humor. I've noted too, the Scorpio energy is just, can be very dark. And you know, darkness serves a purpose. Through all these, something I forgot to mention, I gotta go back. How far are we in? Just 13 minutes into this video. And I've already jumped on a lot of interesting conversations about the Scorpio archetype. And I'm just kind of ranting too. I did not write notes for this or anything. I feel like there's a lot of different points I could touch base on about the archetype of Scorpio, and I'm probably not going to get into all of them that I even know of in this video. I'm just out for a ride at the moment. Figure this would be a good time to hit this topic. So Scorpio, we were talking about how it's very sexual in energy. It's very sexual in its archetype. It's about hidden things. And there's a dark side to the Scorpio. The Scorpio, if any of you are Scorpios, maybe you can relate. And I'm just going to start saying it from more of a first person point of view rather than a third person point of view. It's like sometimes we feel like we're dying. You know, it's like it is that death energy. We're always going through this almost agonizing. Everybody else could be having a good time, being all swell and joking, but the Scorpions suffer sometimes. There's 3 transformational stages of a Scorpio. It's almost like Pokemon in a way. The only sign that has these transformational phases, and ultimately it's the only sign that can have a total rebirth from what I understand. I don't know how true that is. But the first stage of Scorpio is the scorpion, of course, and it has a sting, and it's mean, and it hasn't learned to tame the stinger yet. It just wants to sting, it just wants to penetrate. It just wants to lash out at anyone who makes us feel uncomfortable or unsafe. Scorpios always have for me, growing up, I've always had my room to run back to. I always have a cave that I go into. My other Scorpio friend, my buddy Christian, he's very much the same way. He's always had his room or his cave or his lair. You know, we always have our temples, so to speak, that we always have to go back to. We always need that clear space where we can, you know, work with. It's a room or a space that is our own energy, regardless of where we may be living. We're very protective of our space. So phase 1 is the Scorpio that stings. Phase 2 is the serpent. The serpent is wise. It is the serpent of wisdom. Of course, Jesus says, "Be ye as wise as serpents," but also Satan turned into the serpent, so to speak. You know, we discussed that theme more in detail in other videos. Check out my Lucifer, Satan, and Demiurge videos. I forget if that's exactly what they're titled. Something like that. Lucifer and Satan videos, part 1 and part 2. But the serpent, it's a symbol of wisdom, but it was also used by Satan to transform into the serpent and deceive Adam and Eve. It's a pretty universal symbol, the caduceus wand that Raphael carries. That has the serpents on it. But the serpent is the next stage. It's very intelligent, it's very wise, but it still has the potential for evil. It's very wise, very calculating, and it likes to strike too. It'll get you. So I think, and that's very much where like the Slytherin archetype, I think I've done one video on Harry Potter, and I know I mentioned that the Slytherin archetype the Scorpio archetype is heavily what influences Slytherin. The House of Slytherin, it's that dark energy. But as we know, there are dark and light Slytherins. There's like Snape was ultimately a good guy the whole time, even though his methodology of doing it, he probably could have taken a different approach, but he needed to play the part of the bad guy too. So sometimes some of us are given roles that are much darker than other people. It doesn't mean it's evil necessarily. We should be able to discern what an evil act is and what a decent moral choice is. But sometimes playing the dark part doesn't always mean that you're doing bad things or it's ill. It's just your role may be in the shadows. It may be a darker part to fulfill. Remember the Dark Knight. If you've ever watched The Dark Knight, Batman, at the end of the movie, they're chasing him even though he's the hero. It's that whole idea, like this all plays into the whole Scorpio thing. But then the third phase of Scorpio, after the serpent, is the phoenix. And the phoenix is the ultimate form. It rises from the ashes. Of course, we all know what we've talked about the phoenix symbology on this channel before. Also equated with the eagle too. You see this in ceremonial magic, is like the eagle of the west with Archangel Gabriel. Well, the eagle's really a phoenix. And the same thing on the dollar bill, you see the eagle associated with the United States, but it's not really the eagle, it's the phoenix. The phoenix is the real deal. It's the eagle's like just a modern, like, I don't know why they decided to change it from the mystical bird that, rises from the ashes and changed it to a literal bird. Maybe they just wanted to find a real bird that exists and use that as the country's bird. I don't know. We're not going to get into that. But the phoenix is the third stage of the Scorpio. It's the one that's risen from the ashes. And of course, it has the association with Archangel Gabriel in the west, which is an archangel of water, because Scorpio is a water symbol. So this should all make sense. So Phoenix is the final stage. It's the Scorpio who's really undergone death, possibly even more than once. Sometimes this whole death and rebirth thing, our physical bodies can only handle so much of that. I think P.D. Newman even joked about in his book, Alchemically Stoned. That's a great book. I highly recommend that. About a man, being able to undergo so many death ceremonies, how many times can one really die and really even stay sane in this world? So yeah, there's rites of passage. There's people, I've had times in my life where it feels like I have died and I have been reborn. It's like I I feel like I maybe should not be here, but somehow I passed through it. And it was another phase of darkness, another phase of my existence, which made me stronger. So it's like you can really start to see too where the Scorpio archetype starts to play into the left-hand path or the darker path. It's not always about being pure light or being pure Sith. I've actually been more influenced by Jedi philosophy lately than probably Sith philosophy, because I'm always trying to balance light and dark myself, but generally I'm typically drawn to a lot of these darker teachings, but I try to use the understanding of this darkness for good, because I'm curious. That's another thing about the Scorpio, the sign of Scorpio. We are curious. You know, that's another thing that draws us to the mysteries. Like, we have to know. Some people, it just seems like they're never going to be curious enough to really dive in and to really know these things. And that's okay. It's just not meant for them, perhaps. You know, it's not meant for everyone to understand this stuff. But I think having it, Scorpios tend to have deep souls, ones that, you know, aren't just using the dark, carnal aspects of Scorpio. It's cool if you embrace your carnality, but don't use it in a way that's hurting other people. Don't use and abuse people. Be mutual with people. Be honest with people. That's really all we can ask at the end of the day. You respect other people's individual rights. You do your thing. You vibe. You leave other people alone, unless they're hurting somebody. You know, let people do their thing, and we're gonna have a world of peace. It's going to be a great, great time. We're manifesting heaven on earth, and I'm really confident that, you know, as more people learn this information, it's not about me gaining power. It's the Spirit has finally told me to talk about this stuff. If I just hold on to this stuff my whole life and never talk about it, never share it with like-minded people, then what good? What good is any of this doing? You know, ceremonial magic helps build our energy, our power. If we're just building up this energy and we're not doing anything with it, we're not doing art, we're not working on ourselves, if we're not, you know, whatever, I'm working on a book myself, whatever our craft may be, channel it to the craft. Channel it to your craft. Channel it into your partner, your loved one, you know, whoever, your friends, you know, show them some love and stuff. And people who are open and receptive to learning this information, it should be available to them. We should be able to discern who and who is not ready for certain information, and you don't have to tell everyone everything all at once. I was just watching a YouTube channel this morning. I think Morgue Official or something is the name of his channel. Very, very cool stuff. I highly recommend it. He was doing some Freemasonic stuff, and he approaches it from a pretty rational standpoint. He's not a Mason himself, but yeah, it's cool to listen to his perspectives on things, because he's kind of doing a similar thing to what I'm doing here on Occult Perspectives. He's been in the game way longer. I haven't really watched a lot of his videos. I've only watched bits and pieces of a couple of them, but he seems to be doing good work, so I recommend that you check him out. Morgue Official. So yeah, this video is pretty much, what are we at now? 23 minutes, almost 24 minutes. The archetype of Scorpio, I think I pretty much covered most of what needs to be said about the sign. Remember it's a sexual sign, so learn to control your sexuality and channel that in the direction that you want to channel it into your creative outlets, and to share your energy in a way that you feel comfortable with, and, you know, with people who are worthy of your energy. If you want to be in a relationship, find somebody who's on that same level as you, who can understand. Mutual exchange of energy, open, honest communication. So that's using the sexual energy in a, you know, good way. It's also, if you're a Scorpio, you probably want to learn about the occult a little bit. I think it brings a little bit of relief to this mundane world where everyone just seems to be automatons. I don't know if that's the correct word, but basically robots. Just coming and going and not really thinking about what they're doing. They're just always being pulled by the strings of something else. So if we are all bound to some degree, if strings are being pulled, make sure that we're vibing in a higher realm where we are working with higher forces rather than being stuck. We don't want to be stuck. We want to be ever flowing. And I think the Scorpio energy is very different from other water signs such as Cancer, because my fiance, she's Cancer. That's her sun sign. And it's a very different energy. Scorpio is very intense. It's very always on the go. And the Cancer is like the home energy. It's almost like earthy in its nature. It's really weird because Cancer is a water sign, but to me it almost has a lot of earth elements about it. It's the mother energy. It's actually like the ultimate mother sign out of the 12 zodiac. So it's way different. And then Pisces is the other water sign. And my parents are both Pisces, Sun Pisces. Now that's a harder zodiac to understand. It's not as dark. It's very psychic though. It's archetypally, I think the Pisces is like even more psychic and intuitional than the Scorpio. But the Scorpio is actually, I would say, we're almost the most emotionally intense sign. Cancer's pretty emotional, but Scorpio is just intense emotion and transformational and dark. And Pisces is more, I don't know a whole lot about Pisces. I try to figure Pisces out. I've watched videos, but they're definitely deeper souls. But a lot of the Pisces I know don't get into occult stuff. It's like they're good people. They're pretty deep thinkers to some degree, but I've never really known Pisces people to get too deep into this kind of stuff. But that doesn't mean that they don't, because I do have a friend, I believe her son's in Pisces, or her son's in Aries and her moon's in Pisces. I can't remember. But Zarita, if you end up watching this, I can't remember if your sun or your moon is in Pisces, but she's very much into this stuff, esoteric and otherwise, learning the mysteries and all that stuff. So any sign's capable. I don't think one sign is going to determine whether you get into the occult. But I think that Scorpio energy, archetypal energy, that's what it's about. It's about the mystery. It's about the death and the resurrection. The mystery, which in the mystery schools, of course, is death and rebirth. We see this theme with, Masonry, and pretty much any initiatory thing you undergo, you are coming into a new phase of life. You are being rebirthed. All of these kinds of things. I think you can get the general gist of where I'm going with this, the whole Scorpio thing, especially if you've watched other videos that I've done on here. So for now, everyone, I'm going to jump off of here. Thank you for tuning in to Occult Perspectives. Tyler Smith here. Please subscribe if you're interested in this type of stuff. Share my channel with like-minded people. Share it with people you know, friends, acquaintances, loved ones, etc. Please ring the bell if you want to be notified of new videos. And take care, everyone. Just let's go enjoy life. Let's allow heaven to be manifested now through us. Let's just live the journey and do the thing and be the magic and be the love and the light and the darkness too when necessary. Scorpio sometimes, like, if a villain is Scorpio, that could be bad news. The Scorpio archetype often represents the villain aspect in a movie or such, but when the righteous man channels his Scorpio energy for good, the bad guys better watch out. All right, everyone. Peace and blessings. Take care, and until next time.